Hey, so let's get into it. There's a lot of things to cover, a lot of major happenings for
Yeah.
AEW. So, right, they had a big, huge pay per view on Saturday night, another jam packed episode of Dynamite. But before we get into both of those events for AEW, they also had some breaking news. In the video game world, Tim, I believe you had the announcement. Let's share with the listeners and viewers what that news is.
Yes, and I will read some intermittently. I may jump in and out of this article that I have pulled up here from Bleacher Report, and this is AEW announces console mobile gaming options for wrestling brand. So AEW had been talking about this AEW Games 1.0 or whatever and telling everybody to watch, and I'd forgot about it. And Tom, you sent me the link on Messenger, Facebook Messenger, and that was it. And I just checked it out, and I was like, oh, I watched the whole thing. If you have not watched it, I would suggest going to AEW's YouTube page and checking that out. While you're there on YouTube, I can suggest another great YouTube page. We are the Spanish announced Tube, right? But their thing, the whole idea of them all coming out as Steve Jobs was great. None of them expecting the other one to come out. And all of them, when they got hired with a contract, they were like, no, only if I can be involved, right? I love all the little details. This is what AEW is good about, and we'll talk about this later in other parts of AEW, but the little details, they don't lose those, right? Whereas some of the competition at WWE is so enormous now, and they've got so much content they're churning out that maybe they do, right? AEW, though, the details of all of this were great. Kenny Omega first introduces the console game, and then I think it was Britt Baker, the first mobile game, yes? Or no, she was the T-shirt, right? But we'll go on. I'll read some of this article.
Aubrey was the mobile game. Britt Baker was the
Yes.
T-shirt. Cody was a casino game. That was, of the four, was the only one I was a little bit confused on. I'm assuming it's a mobile casino game.
I think it's a mobile casino game, which kind of fits their
Double or nothing, all
thing,
in,
right?
Vegas kind of theme. But let's talk real quick. So as you mentioned at the start, Kenny Omega releases early video game footage. As it stated before the video game footage, it said this is still early. It could change. But what we saw there, Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho, and then Sheeta coming in beating up Kenny Omega, which I thought she would have beat up Jericho. Felt like that was more of a natural fit, but I guess because Kenny Omega has wrestled females, it was more of a natural, we've seen this kind of thing before, even though it was a video game. But before all that, what did you think of the video game footage that we saw?
It looked... I was a little underwhelmed, if I can say so, like from the graphic standpoint. But they did say, hey, this isn't final. But I thought if you're showing it to me, it's probably not too far off from final.
Right.
And I don't like when they do the video games where things look disproportionate from reality, right? Like everybody looks like they have a barrel chest and these ginormous arms, right?
Well, that's what they alluded to, is that this is the same guy who made WWE No Mercy. And if you go back to WWE No Mercy, that was the same kind of thing. Everyone was blocks and everyone had square shoulders and everyone had the big elbows and the weird forearms, the whole thing. So maybe we're getting a callback to No Mercy to be like, hey, that was so fun. They look similar. I was just not impressed. I was just happy that it wasn't trying to look too outrageous. It was trying to stay more true to what you see on TV. Sometimes, for example, if you look at WWE Battleground, the new video game from WWE that they've skipped over 2K, that's too much, right? You got Undertaker turning blue, the Fiend turns like a bright red, and it's like cartoonish wrestling. And I thought maybe AEW would go that route because they would say, hey, wouldn't this be fun if Kenny Omega could give you, his finisher from the top of a building or something?
We are in the comic book era of wrestling, as we're starting to kind of figure it out, right? So maybe, yeah, but this one, as you said, is more like No Mercy. I'm not the video game guy. I have stopped playing wrestling video games for probably over a decade now, so I'm not the guy to do it. I haven't even played a video game in months, and when I do, it might be Madden, and have felt the urge recently, like I should pick up play a video game or two. But I know like you can't play like Madden without playing a season, right? Or a dynasty, and I don't have that kind of time. So I'm definitely not gonna like go buy this game. I am interested way more in this Elite General Manager mobile game.
Okay.
This looks good.
All right, let's get into that then. Yeah, what do you think about this? One thing I'll say about the mobile game is that Aubrey has a background in developing mobile apps and mobile video games. So of all the things that were announced, that I think has the most promise because it has the most expertise behind it. Now, I know the guy built No Mercy, so that's obviously gives you some legs to stand on as far as credibility. But with Aubrey, I just feel like, okay, she's in the company and she can do this. Like that's a good apples to apples help with the lift of this game. It seemed interesting. I sometimes, unlike you, I'm more of a console guy where it is, let me go through and capture the heavyweight championship through a career mode. Where I start to check out is on the mobile because, this thing has 1,900 things on it other than the video game. So I start to go like, well, I wonder what Instagram's doing, or I wonder what Twitter's doing. What's hashtag tweet the table? I'm going to go to that. And so then I just like, well, I haven't clicked on that video game in a while because social media apps. So it did look cool, but talk a little bit about the GM game.
That does fit more my style currently. That's kind of if I have any ability to like social media or gaming, it's like I've got 5 minutes now, I've got 2 minutes later. So the mobile gaming might fit better in that. I like this idea of it is that, right? Like you're trying to book a show and score higher and see what you can do. And I thought you would be drawn to this from all the T-Mac story time stuff and your just natural inclination for like I could.
Well, I am. Yeah, I am. I'm going to get this game. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be interesting. I'm in my mid 30s, so I grew up with the console and not the mobile games. So that's where I just lean more console because that's what I'm used to.
The console is not even like it's upstairs with my son at this point. And I'm just like, I'm not going. I'm not going up. It's filthy up there. I ain't going.
The one thing that I was hoping for, honestly, if I'm being completely transparent, is I hope, even though the GM game will have its own mobile app, I hope in the console you could do GM mode. That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. I could be drawn if somebody told me like this is amazing, but I might go buy that console game. But I know we're now moving into this like PS5, and I'm faced with this I'm faced with this. I am in my early 40s. I'm 40, and I'm going, oh. Am I at this point where I never buy another video game console now? Because I'm like, I don't play the video game console, right? Now I could, right? When the kids move out and I've got way more free time, maybe that kind of thing, but that's several years out. So now I'm like, maybe I skip this one, right? Or maybe if we get a PS5, it's because my son got it, right?
Right, yeah.
But I'm definitely not going to buy it. So now I know they said you can still get it for the PS4. The existing consoles and stuff, but I'm not going to do that. Right? I'm not going to spend $65 on that, right?
I like how you just give it up.
So I need somebody to tell me, like, I need you to be like, I bought this fucking game. It's great. I can play like General Manager where something's like, because what I don't like, the thing about wrestling games is, it's fun, but it's way more fun when I was younger and we were all in a room together and we were drinking and I'm beating your ass.
Right.
And you're like, all you do is bounce off the ropes and fucking clothesline me. And I'm like, yeah, but it works, right? Like, or whatever, right? Like, whatever the thing is, right? Be like, I'm just too fat. Like, or you build your own character to some niche thing and they can't stop it, right? Like all that kind of fun stuff. Or you'd make yourself, right? Like, and get the beard on a guy and go, right.
Console games are definitely more for the community type of tournaments in a dorm room or in an apartment or at Up Down. Shout out to Up Down. Hopefully once COVID measures are taken serious and we can get back to actually being in public safely, we could go back there. Maybe that's where we could do our console AEW game.
Maybe, right.
The other thing that was released was the casino game. What about the casino game? This is the thing where it was a little bit left field. Like you said, it does fit with the marketing of it, but I don't think wrestling fan blackjack.
So true, but I have at times when I've had mobile gaming had things like Texas Hold'em, or like what is it, Zingos, like whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
I'd go on there. Some of that was always like, man, I don't have time. Where I started getting away from that is like, I don't have time to sit here for 20 minutes, wait on players, like that kind of stuff. So I'd stop kind of doing that. But if there was an AEW themed one, that's probably what I'm going to go with first if I'm trying to play something like that again. So I think what you're going to get is your AEW fans might gravitate to that, the ones that are inclined to play that kind of stuff, right? I don't think you're going to pull in anybody that isn't already AEW leaning. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how detailed this one might be. This one might be like a cheaper game, if you will. Like maybe they didn't produce this one as high end, but we'll see. I don't know.
Well, so I'm thinking maybe this game is going to get the older 50 and over crowd to be exposed to AEW, because when I think of Texas Hold'em on a laptop or some type of, Kindle or whatever it may be, Kindle's just for reading, but you know what I'm saying? All that crap.
I think you can access
iPads, all that stuff,
games,
right? Yeah.
Right.
But what I think of when I see a iPad with the Texas Hold'em on them, Hold'em on it is my dad. My dad plays that, and he'll fall asleep in his chair, and he'll wake up. I won $2 million on blackjack or Texas Hold'em, whatever it is. So maybe that's how they get this 50 and over crowd, is all these old fogies that found a new casino game. Well, who's this Kenny Omega I lost to? Let me check him out. Boom, 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 boom. Maybe. That'd be cool.
Maybe.
The thing that I was the most underwhelmed with, though, because I really loved everything. I loved the Steve Jobs jokes. I loved how everyone called him TK. I loved how Cody was like, I'm not going to sign that unless I do video games. He's like, you don't know shit about it. And he's like, you're right. And so he still signed it. Loved the whole thing. I liked the console graphics that I was shown because it was early on. But the t-shirt was the only thing where I was like, you just had a square and you put AEW, and then in whatever font you found, you wrote games. Like, that's not even anyone could have done that shirt.
Yeah, and I don't.
Was that a rib?
I think so.
Okay, because like she was in a Gucci belt and in like a designer T-shirt, and then this fucking shirt looked like a goddamn Walmart knockoff.
Okay, I am going to talk about a story with a local tie to us, because sometimes what they said was right. From a distance, that T-shirt is great. Like, what they talk about with a logo, when you're making a logo, is you need to think about scalability, right? It needs to be able to be recognizable from a distance, but people also need to be able to like put it in a fucking email and shit like that. And so it's difficult. She was right in that regard. So let's talk about a local marketing firm in Overland Park, Kansas, which is a part of Kansas City metro area here.
Where here, not where you're
right.
At. You're at the Four Seasons.
Right. I'm at the Four Seasons Total Landscaping Company. Right there between the fire extinguisher and the hose. Where all intelligent leaders and prominent members of society produce great communications, right?
Always.
Highest of standards here. Again, Wi-Fi box. Right, it's like a weatherman. Right here. we got a cold front coming in here, Tom. All right, so where were we? Yeah, all right, so this Overland Park, Kansas company, they get tasked with, what are we going to name the NCAA college football playoff, right? They pay them several $100,000, close to $1 million, to come up with a name and logo for the NCAA college football playoff. And Tom, you know what the college football playoff is called in the NCAA?
Probably the college football playoff.
It's called the college football playoff. And the logo is a football. Tom, they stole like $1 million from these people. And hey,
they went
what
with
is the college football playoff?
Yeah, someone signed off on that. So
AEW Games, you need a T-shirt? Put AEW Games on it. Thanks for the check, assholes. Total Four Seasons Total Landscaping Company. I'm saying.
Yeah. So that was the big announcement. I don't know if any necessarily release dates were announced from the press release that you're seeing. I don't think. Did you see anything there? I think they mentioned winter.
They just said it's coming. Yeah, winter. They did say.
So be on the lookout. Hopefully around Christmas time, that would be a great get, to be able to get that underneath your stocking or in your stocking or under the Christmas tree, whatever you celebrate.